Welcome everybody. This is a video of ArLA Australia. We will be talking about 5 job search tips in architecture in Australia. So welcome. First of all, this is ArLA Australia. Our mission is a group of female Latin American architects helping each other as we transition into the Australian architectural workforce and continue our professional development in Australia. We enable this by providing safe space to be supported and participating in groups activities to provide inspiration, networking opportunities, and build our community. These are the 3 of our key words: networking, support, and inspiration. We are located physically in 7 cities around Australia: Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne, Hobart, Canberra, Sydney, and Brisbane. Not yet in Northern Territory, but if you know someone, please contact us. And these are the activities that we do around the country. So visits, meetings, picnics, etc. Well, and just as a disclaimer, the information contained within this presentation is to provide advice of a general nature only, and it's not to be taken as individual advice for your personal circumstances. The information provided does not replace a professional assessment or immigration advice and does not account for any form of legal advice or any particular matter. The author and ArLA do not take any responsibility or liability for any loss or damage which may arise from relying on the content of this presentation. And we encourage you to use an exchange of the information provided in this presentation. You may use this material subject to acknowledgement of the source for your personal and non-commercial use. Well, and now we will introduce to our speaker today. This is Dani Silva. This is ArLA Australia founder and national coordinator. And we will be talking about the 5 job search tips in architecture, how to get the job you deserve. Hello, Dani.
Hello, thank you for the presentation. Go to the next slide. So we'll go straight into the 5 tips. This is a video prepared for you all have a more seamless transition into the Australian workforce. And the first tip has to be with something really important. The title of architect is protected by law in Australia. There is an Architects Act that protects the title of the architect. And this is to protect the public from people saying that they are something that they are not. And if you're not registered in your state or territory, you might get some penalties. So avoid represent yourself with that title. So in the same context, I know that there is some frustration with the topic because we hold an architectural degree. We can be called architects in our home countries. So what happens is that you might feel a bit frustrated with this. But here we are to inform you so you don't breach the law, and also giving you some tools for you to know how to navigate this challenge. So the first thing is to know that you may still apply to jobs advertised for architects. Just make sure that none of your documents, resume, portfolio, LinkedIn profile doesn't have any of your Australian experience labeled as architect. You may use the word for overseas experience, of course. but not for the anything in Australia. And here we give you some of the jobs that to help you with the job search, because there is another frustration in the job search when you try to find jobs for architects and you just find IT architects roles. You might notice that there are much higher salaries for those roles. So then that will be your first filter. And then you can realize that people will use other job titles to describe this role. So for example, Revit technician or any other software like ArchiCAD or whatever, technician, designer, project designer, design manager, and these are roles that can be used by companies that are not registered as an architectural firm in Australia. If you do have an architectural firm, you can give job titles to your staff as an architectural assistant, architectural technician, and architectural drafter. If you have any concerns and doubts or further questions about this topic, you can go to your state or territory architects board website, and they all have this information there. And even you would like to send an email to either the AACA or the state and territory board. Next one. So in ArLA Australia, we get this question a lot, and it is, how do I identify myself, how I describe myself without, and my background, my professional background, without breaching the law? So the best thing to do, and what we advise in ArLA, is to use just post-nominals, because that will give the person that is looking at your documents a hint of your education and therefore your professional background. And if your degree was less than 5 years, your degree will be a Bachelor of Architecture, or BARCH, as a post-nominal, that you put after your name and surname. And if your degree, as mine, was 6 years and others might be 5 years, you may use the Master of Architecture. A lot of us also struggle with this because you say, oh, but I didn't study a master's degree. The thing is that if you do say that you only have a Bachelor of Architecture, sorry, you will consider a graduate of a Bachelor of Architecture, which is a 3-year degree, which takes half of the years we have a study, and that has an impact in the salary that you will receive, and obviously the level of seniority in your role. So yeah. So next one. So we go now to the tip number 2, and this has to be with a personal brand, which I believe this helped me a lot to know myself. This is not to fake like a character that does incredible things in the industry. It's more about, knowing your purpose, what are your values, and focusing your documents on yourself, on who you are as a professional, and what's the impact that you cause in any of the roles that you perform, more than the projects that you have done. Obviously, if you have worked in jobs like in infrastructure or in residential or in fit outs, it will give you a different background. But also notice that the personal brand will tell you which type of professional you are. If you like working in a team, if you prefer to work by yourself, if you are like an empath that will be considering a lot what the client's needs are. All of that has to be in these documents. So your achievements and all of that. And a very, very important thing to consider is the consistency throughout all the documents, because we, as Latin Americans have 2 names at least and 2 surnames in the majority of the countries. So that is also a struggle here, especially because we have long surnames or long names and more than one. So keep it short. As you can see, Fernanda shortened her name to Fair to be
Easier.
like easier to read and to contact and to call. So I think that's a very important thing, and that you have the same phone number, the same email, professional email, the same picture. If you decide to put a picture on your documents, that is the same picture that you have on your LinkedIn profile, the same one that you will put in your resume and portfolio. And next one. So I mentioned before in the consistency of the documents, I mentioned LinkedIn. And this is one of the tips I give because this was the way I found one of two of the jobs that I've done in Australia. I personally don't recommend LinkedIn to find jobs, especially if you don't hold a full right visa in terms of working rights, or if you are not a permanent resident, or if you don't have local experience. You can still optimize your LinkedIn profile. I think it's very important. But for the first job, this will be a tool to to show your personal brand. You can still create a network, try to grow your audience in your followers and especially your connections to over 500 people. Before it was 300 to be visible. Now it's more popular, so it's 500. There is a LinkedIn webinar in our website and our YouTube channel that you can search, which is also specific for architects, that we did last year. So have a look at there. It will go more into detail for this topic, but you try to use LinkedIn to, I don't know, you get if you are in the active job search, you may like to have LinkedIn Learning that you get when you have a premium account. There you can do some training if you are not an expert on any subject that you're interested. You also might go to LinkedIn Jobs and see what's happening in the industry, what are the keywords for the jobs that you are applying. Also, you can follow architectural firms and see if they are hiring, because sometimes they won't go to job ads, to LinkedIn jobs. They will post something saying we are hiring, and then you can apply directly. And you can also connect with recruiters. I, again, believe that in the first stage of your career in Australia, LinkedIn will be more to start connecting with people. And then when you already have experience in Australia, you might be found by a recruiter. I don't find very, how do I say this? I don't find very responsive the recruiters when we approach to them. It's more when they approach to us. So it is very important that your LinkedIn profile shows all your skills, all your achievements. You can upload content such as like a commenting over a topic. You can post your projects, your processes, your thoughts. And yeah, there is a very little percentage of people, of LinkedIn users, that are actually posting things weekly. So if you do, you will be very visible when you get, well, there is a full video, so go to that one if you want more details. But I strongly recommend the use of LinkedIn for the job search as a support tool. But what I do believe it is the best thing and the best approach to find a job, when not only when you don't have local experience, because I did have local experience at some point, and I still couldn't find a job through the online ads. But I wanted to change because I went from drafting to having like a more holistic approach, like a design and coordination roles. And I didn't have experience on those. So what I did was, and it was suggested by a coach that I had at that time, is to search offices around your area. Here I did like a little exercise, quick exercise of offices near the CBD, Sydney CBD, and here you can see that there are plenty of them. You can go to their websites, check if they align with your goals, like if the type of projects they resonate with you, the way you are. And then you can either call or go. Some people feel that like going in person, it's a bit invasive, but it's not that you're not going to knock on the door of the director, but you can go and talk to the receptionist, tell them who you are, what's your plan, and you have a printed copy, or you can tell them where can I send my documents, and then you can do that. In my case, was the second call I made that got me the job I have currently. I wish I listened to this advice earlier, because it took me 6 months to find a job at that time during COVID. But yeah, I understand that sometimes like we are a bit shy because our English is not the best, because we struggle to speak over the phone, or because we're shy to go and show up in an office. But believe me that some companies really value that. They say, okay, this person is different, because a lot of people, the majority of people go and just apply passively online. So yeah, and keep in mind that just like less than 20% of the job offers are advertised. So you are applying to the 20% of the universe of job offers that are around. And yeah, and the good thing of looking up offices around your area is that you don't have to commute them. You don't have to trust Sydney trains and things like that. Sometimes even like the weather is causes impact in the transport, and then yes, that's a plus. That you just can walk or take a quick bus to your destination. And the next one, we go to the last one, which is about internships and volunteering. This is also something I did personally. I did find value in it, especially because I had all like against me, except for I had full-time rights to work in Australia, but I didn't have local experience. My overseas experience was related to hydraulics and urban design more than architecture, like houses and buildings and things like that. So it wasn't until someone opened the opportunity to have an internship that then I could learn like local regulations and things. So then I could open my my path to get like a full-time position in Australia. I do want to say in this topic that internships in Australia are regulated by Fair Work. So if you go to the website and then you go and search for work experience and internships, it will give you all the information you need to know, because only the observational experiences are legally unpaid. But if your employer is charging money to their clients for work that you have done, even if it's just like, oh, can you please make the door schedules, that those things that no one wants to do, and then you spend 2 days doing the schedules, he's charging for that or she's charging for that. So therefore you have to get paid. How much you have to get paid? As far as I understand, it is the minimum payment in Australia, not in the award. I believe that that's the case, but I will, if I was you, I will double check. A lot of people say, oh, internships are illegal, unpaid internships are illegal in Australia. That's not true, because they are legal. They only have to be observational. Like they take you to site, they take you to the office, and they show you how to do things. So the idea of the internships is that the intern gets the most of it than the employer. If the employer gets any benefit out of it, then they have to start paying. And yeah, that gets us to the end of the presentation.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I also got my first professional job in here for after doing a internship. So
yeah,
it works. Maybe
it
doesn't sound like it's fair because it's like unpaid, and not everyone can do it, but it works.
It works, and I think I don't know. I think it is when you can afford it. Obviously, it is an option. I always suggest internships or volunteering work to be part-time, so then you can use the rest of the time to have a job in hospitality or cleaning or whatever else you want to do, to pay your bills, because in Australia it is impossible to live without working. So yeah, that's now we invite you to follow us. If you go to I think the easiest way will be if you go to the website, there you will have all the links to all the pages that we have on LinkedIn, on Facebook, our Instagram account, and yeah, we also have chats. So if you haven't joined our private chats, we have one for Australia and one for every city. And yeah, just remember that is for women only. These spaces are for women only. We also have a Facebook group that are women only, but all the rest of the people can join in the open platforms, and you can always feel free to ask any question and start any debate, and yeah, support what we are doing, because this information can be helpful. So if you find that this information can be helpful for a friend or someone coming to Australia, not necessarily from Latin America, it can come from any other country, because that's why we are doing this in English. So yeah, thank you for listening, and see you next time.
Thank
Bye bye.
you.